YouTube Ozzico and the Goat House is back. And every time I make a mock draft, some big trade goes down. Something goes down every time I'm making a video, really. So I got to redo the mock draft. The mock draft that just went up doesn't mean anything at this. It's all right, though. We're having fun. You know, teams making some big moves. I don't know. I just think I deserve some credit because every time I make a video, something happens. So I think it has something to do with, in some way, some form, me recording videos connected to the NFL trades. I don't know. We're moving on. Yeah, really excited about this Eagles-Saints trade here. Wild trade. We've seen some similar ones before the draft last year. This one's crazy, though. What's involved in this? All picks, no players. I'm here to make it make sense. It's a little confusing. I'm going to make it make sense, break it all down, what it means, and then grade both teams. So I'm excited about it. Excited to redo the mock draft again for some time this week. Join us for all that draft content here. Like, subscribe to notifications on live day one of the NFL draft right here on YouTube. Follow our Twitter. We talked about this trade. We talked about all my thoughts. I kind of broke it down into pieces already on Twitter. So yeah, make sure you follow that. Link down below for anything you're looking for. Pin in the comments. Here's our Twitter. A lot of action on here. Again, check it out. We were talking about this trade a bunch already. So yeah, go ahead and check it out there. So the full trade details. At first glance, I've already seen people, the chatter, or already seen what people talked about when they saw this trade. They saw the details. The Eagles stole, they basically stole picks from the Saints. The people were saying, and I'd say not so fast actually on that. We're gonna break it down, but I think people were saying the Eagles fleeced them. That's what people were saying. It actually makes more sense once you break it down. So these are the full trade details. I'm actually going to circle back to these. I'm going to break this down in pieces, piece by piece, 2 pieces actually. So not that many. All right, we're making it make sense. Part 1, so the Saints went from 18, they had the 18th pick, to 16. So just think about that happening during the draft. That's a very common, move ahead of somebody, to get a player. Move ahead of the Chargers in this case, to get somebody that you're dying to get, right? I guess what's a little weird about that part of it, there's more to the trade, obviously, is Saints really don't know for sure who they're going to get quite yet, and we'll talk more about that part of it later in this video, I suppose. But anyways, Eagles go from 16 to 18, Saints go from 18 to 16. So if you told me predict that trade, how it would look, this is exactly what myself and many others would actually predict. This part right here makes a lot of sense. Equal value. Saints going from 18 to 16 and having to give up a 3rd round pick and a 7th round pick. First glance, it's like you only move up 2 spots and you have to give up a 3rd and a 7th. Yeah, I guess my time, predicting these types of trades and mock drafts over the last several years, it's hard for people to understand that. So first glance, the fans, people that don't really understand the value of these picks, maybe it looks like the Eagles got more. This is actually a dead even trade, though, in terms of value. But I can understand why fans, maybe think Eagles, because it does look like that. The Eagles got a 3rd and a 7th, and moving back 2 spots. That is pretty good. So who got the better of this part? Maybe the Eagles, because they have more picks, only moved down 2 spots. But it's not like the Saints got fleeced. It's equal value here. So let's take a look at the next part, and then we'll put it all together again. So the Saints got the 19th pick from the Eagles. So now they have 2 first-round picks. So they had to get the 19th pick basically without giving up another first-round pick. What did they have to trade away? Well, of course they had to trade away a next year first. If you weren't going to go up first this year, of course you have to trade next year first. This year first is worth more than next year first, but not really too far off because it's a 19th pick, so not too far off. But of course that first round pick's going to have to go next year. And then, but again, because this year's first is more valuable than next year, because we got to wait for that next year. We don't know what's going to happen then. They got to give up a 2024 second round pick. Second round pick comes with a lot of value, so at this point, this is kind of the point where it's looking like, all right, the Eagles got quite a bit more value, right? It is a 2024 second, so not this year, not next year, so that does drop a little bit of value as well. And the Saints, because in this part of it, of the trade, the Saints gave up a lot more value, so they get a 6th round pick back. So looking at this, I know once again, I think people will look at it and say the Eagles got way more value. A first for a first and a second. I understand people's thinking. And technically, they're close to right. And the Eagles definitely got more value here because that second-round pick, it's not a third, it's not a fourth, it's a second. It is in 2024. Big difference to me, 2023, 2024. But it's closer to value than you think. So those are the two parts. I tweeted this as well. Those are the two parts. I split it up. It makes a lot more sense looking at it that way. Kind of makes you go, oh, okay, all right, So here's the full trade details again. So 16 and 19 of the Saints. My first thought, Saints had to have 2 first-round picks. They already had one. I know they moved that one around, but they gained another one. They're thinking they had to have 2 first-round picks. That's the interesting part here. What is that for? That's the big mystery. We'll talk more here when I grade them. But 16, 19 are now the Saints. And then 18th overall is the Eagles. But then the rest of it, we saw it, 6th-round pick, but the Eagles get a 3rd, a 7th, 2023 first, and a 2024 second. So the Eagles got a pretty good haul. They don't have 3 picks this year, though. Maybe there's a downside there. They don't have 3 picks this year. They still didn't lose a pick total in the first round, though. So, yeah, again, very rare, intriguing deal because it's before the draft. We saw a couple before the draft, including the Eagles, last year. But that's always kind of rare. But like this, where they're kind of swapping picks at the same time of the Saints getting an extra first, Eagles getting future picks. Eagles no longer have 3 picks this year, but they have 2 and then 2 next year in the first round. It's just so unique. It's such a unique trade. So very cool, really. So to grade it, every trade I initially grade, whether it's on here or Twitter. It's just something I like to do, just grade the initial, what it means, everything. But I always say it's like, really you can't fully grade it until everything's finished. What's the fun in that, though? Because everyone can grade the same at that point. But this one's kind of really like that. We got to see not only how players turn out, but mainly what the heck the Saints are doing. What the heck they're picking here, what the Eagles' plan is. Let me grade the Eagles first. I'm going to grade the Eagles first, and this is a little tricky. I was bouncing back and forth between an A- and a B+. I went with the A-. There. What I don't like, which is getting overweighed by what I like, I suppose, because I gave it an A-. Obviously. Even if I gave it in the B range, it's still good, right? But what I don't like is it's small because you're not losing a pick, but you're not picking 3 players. You're not getting better by 3 players this year. You're going to get 2 and 2. It's not the end of the world, not even close, right? But they were a playoff team last year with room to improve for sure. Getting back to playoffs is one thing, but you want to get back to playoffs and get better, and that really could help them. Having 3 first-round picks, everyone raved about it. They just made the playoffs. Even when they lost to the Bucs, they got 3 first-round picks. They just made the playoffs, surprisingly. They're young. They're getting better. They drafted well last year. Here we go. 3 first-round picks to make this team even better, make Jalen Hurts even better. So that's the downside. It does feel like right now, and they still have the draft. And they drafted very well last year. But it does feel like right now they may have more openings on their team. I guess debatable because they had an edge rusher in Hassan Reddick. Kaiser White, solid pickup. It's only a 1-year deal. You might need a linebacker still, my point. I think you need a corner. I still think you need safeties. Ant Harris is only a 1-year deal. You need a strong safety. Still need an X receiver. You might need a center or guard, depending on Dickerson, where he plays, of the future. I think they either have just as many needs, different ones here and there, because, again, they added pass rusher and Reddick, just as many needs or maybe more as the playoff team last year. Not too far off. So, again, kind of going back to you kind of wish they had the 3 first-round picks for that reason, but that's not weighing a whole big piece of this trade. What I like. Let me give you something I like. I mainly, when I do these grades initially, before we see anything in action, I have to go off value. I'm a man of the value, right? So at the end of the day, that's a big reason why it's a great, they get a good grade, an A-, is because they got pretty good value. It's closer than people think. The Eagles didn't steal anything away from the Saints. It's closer than you think, but they won in the value department. Usually a team gaining now, moving up now, usually does lose, so that'd be the reason for the Saints losing the value category. Not as much people think. So it's a good part of the Eagles trade here, why it mainly starts. You're starting up high. Now, here's kind of the bad. It's kind of not really bad, but it's kind of a little bit of both. With this trade, it almost feels like to me that the Eagles, in a way, know that they're going to maybe have to find Jalen Hurts, somebody better than Jalen Hurts next year. They may have to find a quarterback next year. And, similar to what the Dolphins did, been doing, they're okay moving on picks this year. They're kind of gaining picks next year. Not too many needs. The question is Tua, right? And that'll be determined after this year. It's kind of the same thing, which I like that for the Dolphins. And in a way, I like that from the Eagles. And what at the end of the day made me go from B+ to A-. The last straw that maybe bumped it up is, they're in a pretty good position with their load of picks in the future now to go up and get that quarterback if they need it. It's a big if, though. The downside of it is there kind of already feels like they know they have to do it. Like the Dolphins case, they kind of ran out of needs. Maybe some things here and there. Eagles, like I said, they still need safeties. They need a corner. They need an X receiver. They need a center probably or guard of the future. That's not too big of one. You need one in the future there. So they still got 2 first-round picks this year, though. So overall, I think they're sitting in a pretty good position. I like that they're able to, add now, make your team better now, 2 first-round picks, other picks, and then you're able to, I guess, have some insurance in the future. So overall, you see the positives on top of the main thing, the value. They kind of won the value part of this, overweighing everything else, and that's why I gave them an A-. So we got to kind of got to see, what if Jalen Hurts ends up working out, and then you got 2 first-round picks next year still. Hang on to those. So it is interesting. I could see, I'm kind of wondering, if my team had 3 first-round picks, and you got good value back, but I was really excited about making those 3 first-round picks getting a lot better this year. I could see maybe, could there be some fans, maybe a little down that they don't have the 3, they still got 2. So I'm just curious to see how the fans feel about that. It's such an intriguing, rare trade. That how does it affect, the fan base? How does it affect, people that were kind of looking forward to? I mean, they still got 2 first-round picks, like I keep saying. Saints, very, very hard to grade this. Like I said, I think they lost in value in this, but not by nearly as much. I broke it down earlier in this video. Not by nearly as much as people are kind of saying. This is really tough to grade, the Saints part. I gave them a B-. It's just kind of a for now grade. So overall, anything in that B range is, I think it's solid, right? It's not great. I think it's solid. It can be solid. So I'm going to keep saying that. It's just a big to be determined one because, I see a lot of people talking about that they're going to use these picks to go trade up and get a quarterback. I'm not going to like that. I'm not going to like that if they do that. They signed Jameis Winston back. They got Andy Dalton back. Doesn't mean they're set for the future at all, but they did those things. They have other needs still. Not a whole lot, but they have other needs. So moving on from a package of picks to get a package of picks, but less when you combine all value, to move on from that to get 1 pick to get a quarterback from this class. Like I said in the past, I wouldn't recommend – there's some good that can come from some of these quarterbacks in this class, but I wouldn't recommend trading up for a quarterback in this class. I wouldn't recommend overvaluing a quarterback. So with all that being said, if they made all these moves to do that, I wouldn't like it. I would drop the B- grade big time, but that's to be determined. But I really don't – are they really going to do that, though? Because they could have just packaged the picks they sent to the Eagles for that. Maybe they know of a team that wanted what the Eagles were going to give them. It's just a lot. A lot's going on there. So I don't think they're going to do that. So I didn't weigh that into the grade, as you can see. But like I said, that would kind of drop it. But something that I don't like that I did weigh into the grade is I don't like doing a trade like that this early because, especially since you're not picking really early, too. When you're picking pretty early, you kind of can predict the draft, right? You can, okay, we know this, we have a feeling this guy, because I'm sure people within the league, coaches, front office, executives, probably have an idea, but the draft becomes very unpredictable the more it goes on. So I would think that the Saints really have an idea on who they want and who they can get. I think it's very tough to do, though. So then, that would be a big gamble. So then you would think the Saints have a list of guys that they're good with, that they know they're going to get some of them, which is tough, too, because how many great grades do you have out there? That's a little interesting, too. Is it that great of a draft at that part, where you're going to have that many guys as fits and great grades that they're going to be there? So it is a little confusing on why the Saints would do this now. A little confusing, and that's kind of what weighs it down from being a better grade. Again, I don't think they gave up as much value as people think. The team that gains now and moves up, of course, has to give up more value than other teams. So Eagles won in value, but that's not out of the ordinary. It's really not. Maybe the Eagles got a little bit more than the Saints. Perfect situation where they have to give up. Again, I don't love doing all this now and trying to predict exactly how the draft's going to go because we know that could backfire because it just takes one team to do something crazy or a trade that you don't know what's going to happen to come up and get this player. It changes everything. So very curious what they're going to do. But the good, so you may say that almost sounds like, should it be a B-, should it be in the C range? But the good is this helps the Saints in many ways right now, I think. I mean, you have 2 picks this year, so you're going to get 2 pretty good players right off the bat. And the Saints, of course, don't want to be a team that's going to go in a rebuild mode. They got a pretty good roster. Like we said, they still have some needs, but because they missed out on some receivers, maybe they need a quarterback in the future. Do they replace Armstead? No, like Hurst. They can retool here and there, but it's a pretty good roster, really, and that's why they're always towards top tier in defense, while they're always trying to contend to get in the playoffs. Last year they missed really just because they were unhealthy. I think otherwise, I think they definitely would have been in. So gain 2 players now in the first round, and you're playing ball. You're competing now. And we talked about it. The Saints cleared extra cap space, maybe more than they thought they were going to spend, I think, and they missed out on some guys. But now that cap space can go to use this year. Next year, they're already in the negative, which if you're in the negative already, that's really not good. But, them getting themselves out of hole again, they'll do that. That's besides the point. But you trade away your first pick next year, so you don't have as much spending to do. So that's not a great reason to trade a first-round pick. Obviously, it's not ideal, but you see my point. You put the money to spending now. You help yourselves be a win-now team, which the Saints want to do. I guess the question is, a whole different other debate on if they should be that or not. I think some people would probably disagree with them being that, but I think they have a pretty close to complete roster, and having these 2 first-round picks and some cap space to work with for this year could definitely help that. So overall, financially, actually, and helping them stay in position to win now and be an appealing team now, that's the good part of it, where it keeps it from being, I guess, a C range grade would be a bad, grade. I guess C plus, not a bad. You're kind of just in the middle there, That's what keeps it from dropping. But again, if they package all these picks to take these picks, not too far off, goes from here to here, right? To trade for this 1 pick to take a quarterback in this class, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I don't think they're gonna do that, but I see a lot of people talking about it. I'm like, maybe they want to have this one specific guy they feel good about. I don't know. I wouldn't really love that though, just for the reasons I explained there. So very interesting trade. I can't wait to see what these teams got in store for us. Maybe the Saints take that and make a trade before the draft too. Again, they feel very confident about what's going on. It looks like, the Eagles looking to play ball now and in the future with this too. So very intriguing trade. Was kind of blown away by that. We saw like 2 of these last year, with the Eagles and the Dolphins, I should say. But this one was different. This one was definitely different. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with this. But, yeah, check us out on Twitter because we got constant live talk, action about all this, what's going on in the NFL, all news, rumors. So check us out there. We'll be covering day 2 and 3 on Twitter, live, instant reactions. Day 1 will be right here on YouTube. We'll be live, reacting to all the picks. Should be a lot of fun. We do it every year. So join us for that. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Much appreciated. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.